Hey everyone, I know you all have been dying to hear me talk about how I've been commuting with my electric scooter for the past year. So I thought it'd be fun to do a little epic story time animation. I don't know if people even really do these things anymore, but I figured I'd do it at least once. Plus I thought it'd be fun to just talk about my fun little e-scooter that I got. So go grab some snacks, and let's get started. Woo! Okay, so first off, I'll do a short little review of the scooter that I bought. So I got the Gotrax GXL V2 electric scooter. When you go on Amazon and look up electric scooters, it's honestly like one of the first ones that pops up. It has like a ton of good reviews and everything. And it was only $300 when I got it. It's a little more expensive now, but I'm sure you can find it on sale at random times or buy even like a used one, and it's pretty good. But yeah, $300, that's super cheap for any form of transportation. So a very good deal. It goes 15.5 miles an hour, which isn't that fast really, but it's, you know, way faster than walking. And it's especially much better if it's like a hot day. You don't want to walk when it's really hot. I used to walk to like the train station in the summer, and it sucked because it was really hot. Or if you're going uphill or downhill, it's, you know, just way better than walking. If the hill is like, you know, fairly steep, it might only go like 9 or 12 miles an hour, but I don't know, still better than walking. So it has performed pretty well in rain and snow when I have taken it out, when it's like, you know, a slight snow or slight rain. If it's like really heavy snow or if it's super slushy rain, I'd kind of advise not to do that, just to be safe. Another thing is that, so I'm about like 130 pounds. So I've seen some people complain if you are kind of a heavier person, it won't, you know, go quite as far or quite as fast. So that's something you might want to consider if you would think about getting one. You might want to get like a stronger one with a better motor. But I do want to reiterate, this is a fairly cheap scooter. It was only $300, so I really cannot complain. And for me, you know, for my weight and for how far I need to go, it honestly works really good. And I have used my scooter like quite a lot to get groceries, and you know, I've had other stuff like in my backpack when I go to work or whatever, and it's been totally fine. Just with, you know, I mean, that's not that much extra weight, but it's still been, you know, doing the job, even with, you know, some extra weight on it. I do have to say though that after the second week of using my original e-scooter, it kind of just like stopped working while I was going downhill and trying to brake. But I just returned it and got a new one, and that one has been working fine since, you know, it was some point in February of 2022. So I've been using the same one for, you know, over a year now, and it's been working fine. So ultimately, I've honestly really loved this Gotrax scooter. I did some rough math, and I've definitely gotten at least 700 miles on this scooter, just commuting to work, going to the groceries, seeing friends. And it's honestly worked great. The back wheel cover has had a little crack in it, like kind of recently, but I just put some duct tape over it, and honestly, I think it's working fine. If Gotrax ever wants to sponsor me to do a sponsored review for the G4 scooter, I'd really want to get that model next, honestly. So Gotrax, please sponsor me, Gotrax. Please sponsor me. I love this scooter. Please sponsor me, Gotrax. Please, please, please. Thank you. So next up, I'd like to talk a little bit about e-scooters versus e-bikes, because I've heard a lot of people getting electric bikes as kind of like a replacement for their car, or, you know, just whatever. But I really don't hear a lot about people talking about using like e-scooters in the same sort of way. So the way I see it, and, you know, kind of from my personal experience, I think e-bikes are much better if you want to go farther or faster. Because obviously, even if your e-bike dies, you can kind of still pedal it. Even though e-bikes are a little bit heavier than normal bikes, you know, kicking with an electric scooter won't get you really far at all. You're honestly way better off just walking. But I think there's a lot of pros to have an e-scooter over an e-bike. So for first off, I usually only ride on the sidewalk. I try to not be in the bike lane because I don't want to get killed. And for me, I think it's easier, like let's say you're getting off of the sidewalk and you're going into the street, and there's like, you know, a dip in that that gap, what would you call it? Like the gap between where the street starts and the sidewalk ends. I feel like it's a little easier because sometimes those gaps are really like, they're like little trenches basically. And I think if you were on an e-bike riding on the sidewalk, it'd be really obnoxious to go through that gap. So I think it's much easier to just jump off an electric scooter. Or if, for example, you know, I'm scooting down the sidewalk and there's like someone walking their dog or someone with a baby in their baby carriage or whatever, you know, it's really easy for me to just like hit the brakes, walk off, you know. Whereas, I mean, you can do that on a bike too, but it's a little more inconvenient to hop off of a bike than hop back on, you know, sort of frequently. I also think it's a bit more comfortable riding an e-scooter just because you're kind of standing. And I know they do make, you know, more comfortable seats for bikes, but I don't know. For me, I don't want to sit on a bike all day. It's like not that comfy of a chair. I also think it's a bit easier to ride an e-scooter, which I gotta admit right now, I never actually learned how to ride a bike. So I think if you never learned how to ride a bike, getting an electric scooter might be nice for you. Not that it's hard, I think, to ride a bike. I'm sure I could learn, but it is just a bit easier. Scooters are also a little bit more portable than bikes. So for example, I live on the second floor in an apartment building, right? And it's really easy to just fold up the scooter and carry it up the stairs. If I had a bike, it might be a little more awkward getting it up the stairs. So I think that's something, you know, you might want to consider. I do know they make folding e-bikes, but you know what I'm saying, right? I also even used to take it on the train, and I was a bit worried because there are bike like racks in the train. But they don't really fit scooters, you know what I mean? But it was really easy to just, you know, fold my scooter down, and I just kind of slid it under the chair, and it really didn't take that much space up. And as I said, I've even taken the scooter to go grocery shopping, and for some reason my grocery store doesn't have bike racks outside to lock my scooter in, so I just took it inside the grocery store. No one really cared. And I was a little worried that it might, you know, get in the way, but honestly it's way more narrow than a shopping cart is, so really it was kind of more convenient even than having a shopping cart, as long as you aren't getting like too many groceries. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was total cost and how much money, you know, I could be potentially saving by not owning a car, because I don't own a car. I've just been using public transportation and my e-scooter, honestly, to get around, and sometimes rides from friends. So I'll kind of just repeat what I think a lot of people have been saying online recently, but you know, just think of all the expenses that go with owning a car. So you have your initial car payments, oftentimes you have interest on those payments, insurance is pretty high, gas is pretty high, then you have, you know, more infrequent maintenance requirements like oil changes, or if your tire pops, you have to replace your tire. If some rock flies into your window, you have to, you know, fix that, which might not be a lot, but sometimes people, you know, I had a coworker who recently had to replace her like entire, I think, window, or it was something like that, and it was like $500, which, you know, in the grand scheme of things isn't that much compared to like the entire car. Like maybe her car cost like $30,000 or something. You know, $500 isn't that much, but the cost to replace her window was more than my entire scooter that I've, you know, used for an entire year. And you might not think that getting a crack in your window happens that often or something like that. Or even if you go to get your car washed once every like, you know, 6 months or something. But those are all total expenses, you know. Even if you go to a car wash once a year, that's still an expense. And I just want to say, like, I have had no expenses on my e-scooter. When I go to wash it once in a while, I literally just get a paper towel, wet it a little bit, and then, you know, spend like maybe a minute, maybe 30 seconds just wiping it down quickly. I don't really even care if it gets that dirty because there's not much of it to even get dirty, you know what I mean? And the electricity that I, you know, use to power my scooter, because it's electric, I felt like a while ago I tried doing the math, you know, getting the wattage and how much the battery was and stuff. And like, I don't remember the exact amount, but it was seriously like, it was pennies, you know, it was literally cents a month that I was spending. Whereas, you know, some people, they spend, you know, literally like $100 on gas. And here I am spending pennies. Even if you have an electric vehicle, like an electric car, you know, a car is a car is a car, even if it's electric. So even if you're saving money in gas, the amount of electricity that it takes to move an entire car is way more than to move just, you know, a little e-scooter or a little e-bike, you know?
I forgot to say that the lifetime cost of car ownership is really high, by the way.
And even if you do have an electric vehicle and you think you're, you know, saving money on gas, it depends on what country and like what state you live in. Maybe some states don't do it, I don't know. But you do usually have to still pay like your gas tax. Because when you have a normal combustion engine car, part of the price of the gas is the gas tax, which goes towards like maintaining roads and stuff. And because I don't have an electric car and I don't have, you know, a normal car, I don't pay those taxes in any way. So it's pretty nice, you know, I get free sidewalks and free bike lanes, even though the bike lanes are absolutely terrible. I still don't pay any sort of tax on that. Okay, and lastly, I wanted to just say a few like random things. So my e-scooter really doesn't have that big of a range. It's, I think, only about like 12 miles before it's, you know, completely dead. And usually it's always going to be a little bit less than that because if you're, you know, going uphill, it takes more energy and blah, blah, blah. But I was actually pretty surprised at how, you know, many bus routes and there's like a train sort of nearby that I used to take to work. So if you just, you know, take your scooter like 1 or 2 miles to whatever bus stop or train stop, and then, you know, then you take the train to, you know, get to work, and then the work's only like another 2 miles, like you could just charge your scooter at work even, which is what I used to do, and it's honestly pretty good. You like, even if you have a pretty short range, you can still get pretty far using public transportation. I also wanted to just say that, obviously it depends where you live, but some of the sidewalks and bike lanes are like absolutely destroyed, and it kind of like sucks if you don't have like a big truck with gigantic wheels. So like, as I've said, I really only try to stay on the sidewalk because I don't want to freaking die in the bike lane. And also, it's just plain scary being in the bike lane. Like, there are some roads where the speed limit's like 40 plus miles an hour, and it's like, why would you ride a bike next to cars going 40 plus miles an hour? That's terrifying. But then you go on the sidewalk, and it's like some of the sidewalks, like here, let me show you a montage of some of the sidewalks that are just like terrible that I've seen. It's like kind of crazy, especially when you consider that like a sidewalk is so much cheaper to just like build and maintain than like, you know, a huge 6-lane road right next to it. But anyways, this is also why I always wear this high visibility jacket and my helmet. And if it's a little dark out, my helmet also has a little magnetic light that you can put it on, and it, you know, flashes red, so that even though I stay on the sidewalk, when I do have to cross, you know, the road to get to the, you know, cross the street to the other sidewalk, I'm still like very visible to any car, because even if a car is going like 20 miles an hour while it's, you know, crossing your lane, it could still like seriously hurt you. So I always try to be as safe as possible because I don't want to die. Anyways, I guess that's pretty much the end. That's all I had to talk about this video. I guess I'm just gonna end it and say I'm very happy with my e-scooter. I've, again, used it for like 700 plus miles in the past year, and I will definitely continue to use it until it just explodes and dies, and then I'll honestly probably just buy a new one. Gotrax, please sponsor me again, please. I would love that new G4 e-scooter. Please, Gotrax, sponsor me. But yeah, I've found it way more enjoyable to scoot just on a sidewalk and go, you know, a little bit slower, take a little bit longer, but just feel like, you know, like I'm having a bit more fun. Because I used to drive, like back in college, there was a semester where I was driving to, you know, my college, and it was okay. I did kind of like it a bit more because I had night classes, and when I got home, or when I was going home, you know, no one else was on the road. But I cannot imagine like driving every day like in rush hour traffic. That just sounds terrible to me. Even when I was taking the bus, it was so much nicer because I didn't have to deal with the traffic. So I will definitely continue to use my scooter because it's just a lot of fun. and I hope you had fun watching my very epic first time story time animation meme furry TikTok dance compilation. Yeah, okay, bye.